White Mountains Today is presented by Storyland, home of the new Splash Battle, Pharaoh's Reign, Storyland's wettest ride ever.
And good morning. Welcome back to White Mountains Today here on White Mountains TV 16. And in the studio with us now, of course, is Clare Long.
Good morning, good morning.
On the far end. And Emma Propfe, how are you this morning?
Good.
And we're going to talk about the White Mountain National Forest and also talk about the Weeks Act Centennial, which, of course, has all been in the news up here in the White Mountain National Forest.
Everywhere, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
It is, because it's big news. Now, Clare.
Yes.
You're with the White Mountain National Forest.
I am.
But let me ask this question.
Hence
just
the uniform.
I thought that was your pajamas.
Yeah.
Let's give a brief overview of what the Weeks Act was all about and why our centennial
why it's so important.
Yes.
Exactly. Great. About 100 years ago, this whole area had been cleared over, cut over. There was not a lot left to the lands itself. A lot of silt was clogging water that actually went down to the mills in Lawrence and Lowell relied on. And people were realizing, wait a minute, the land that we love to play in, we love to come up to, the people who were coming to stay in the grand hotels, there was nothing around. It was all getting cut down. So organizations like the Appalachian Mountain Club, Society for Protection of New Hampshire Forest, and even kids like Emma were gathering pennies to help try to buy the land and try to get legislation so the government could come in and buy public lands, because at that time the government couldn't do, private lands.
Yeah.
They couldn't buy private lands. So there several attempts to try to get it through Congress went through, and it took this gentleman, John Weeks, to be able to get it through for the navigability. Okay, you have to try this. You say that one.
Of rivers and streams.
Yes, of navigable waters was the way that they were able to get this legislation, which actually helped create 42 national forests in the east and actually some out west.
Oh, really? I didn't know that there was more to it than, I just thought it was the White Mountain National Forest.
No, there's 42 actually. Yeah, Allegheny National Forest, the Green Mountain National Forest, all these forests in the east and some out west.
Wow. But it was interesting, it was also, it was motivated by the businesses also.
Exactly.
Because, it just kind of proved the whole globalness of the Weeks Act and why that was
right, and it was
so
very
successful.
Much a community effort. Businesses, organizations, kids, everyone. Garden clubs were also very much involved.
Wow.
In creating the forest.
And what we were talking about it earlier, that back in 1850, New Hampshire was deforested. It was about less than 50% forested. We got some photos there that we're showing.
Oh,
that.
Yeah. That's an amazing map. Some of these photos there, the map of all of the logging railroads, how they went, all these way up into the mountains. That's the Owl's Head fire in 1903 that wiped out. What happened was, instead of them picking up the wood and reusing it in different ways that we do like this now, we reuse all parts of it.
Right.
We make wood and paper and medicine and food and things out of it. They just left it there, and it all caught on fire. And that was also something that brought to sight this concern for the forest and concern for the area.
Right.
For the future.
Now, so let's talk about some of the things that are coming up here. We've got a whole bunch of things. What do we want to start with describing?
Well, great. Well, we have the festival that's coming up this Friday at the base of the Mount Washington Auto Road, and you have nicely been talking about some of the other ones. The Observatory, who's another partner involved in this whole event, is having their talks, and Tin Mountain has also been involved. But with the festival this Friday, from 9 to 3, up at the base of the Mount Washington Auto Road. It's a free and open, fun festival. There's 3 pavilions. There's a main pavilion that has all sorts of partners talking about what they're doing and sharing some information. And then there's a family pavilion, and Emma's going to talk about some of the things that we're going to do at the family pavilion, where it's all sorts of hands-on activities and learning about some of our partners in making crafts and becoming a junior ranger. And then we have a third pavilion, which is a woodland pavilion. And in there'll be people doing intarsia. If you've never seen intarsia, it's wonderful.
I don't even know what it is.
Woodwork, yeah, exactly. That's a word to use for Scrabble, actually,
right.
Rob. There'll be a woodsman competition. There'll also be a fire demonstration and a competition as well, where you have to put on a backpack and you have to knock the things down and get into a fire shelter. So there'll be all sorts of fun family activities. So how about if you tell them a little bit about the Junior Ranger activities?
Well, we have this Junior Ranger book, and you do as many pages as your age. So say I'm 11, I do 11 pages. And on the back, there's a certificate, And once you filled out the certificate, you can either send it to the nearest forest ranger station, or you can send it to 71 White Mountain Drive, Campton, New Hampshire. To
me.
Yeah.
And what do they get when they go there?
And you get a pin and a badge.
Cool.
And the badge looks a little like this.
And at the sort of end of the festive thing, we're going to have a big ceremony, and all the kids will go up and receive their pins and badges.
And if they can't do it right at the end, then we'll do it right there on the stage. So there'll be.
Oh, that's great. Now you brought some props, I guess is the best way. You brought some bats.
Yeah, we have bats.
Those are cool.
Are they the best? I love them. These are the best.
And we have these bats because there is a fungus going around, and it is killing all the bats, and we're very concerned about that.
So you're going to talk about bats.
So we're going to talk about bats.
And then, of course, moose, with your moose mask.
Yeah, we have this moose mask because 100 years ago there were no moose, but now the moose have started to come back because of how well the forest has been taken care of.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, because we were talking that when there were no forests, you can't have moose because there's no place for them to hang out. And
get out of the heat. Yeah.
It was interesting. I never equated those two, and I've talked about this stuff for years and years and years. But the fact that where would moose and bear and any of the other creatures live when you have no forest?
Exactly. The difference, and as you were saying, there's also we didn't have foliage back then, because the forests before there was not a lot cut down. There were evergreen trees, and it was all cut down. But it took a while for all the varied foliage that we have here, because different trees need different environments.
Right,
so.
The deciduous tree.
Oh, the deciduous. Oh, that's another
right.
another
good Scrabble word. The deciduous tree. Well, it's just so fascinating. I mean, we could probably spend hours here talking about it.
Yes.
But you've got the opportunities, or people have the opportunities to come and really explore it with these.
Exactly, and please come on up. There's these different pavilions. You park at the base of the Auto Road in the general parking area.
Yeah.
And it's also their 150th anniversary too. So they've got all sorts of other wonderful things.
It's a neat connection.
Yes, it's great. It's a great connection. There's all sorts of lots of ongoing exhibits. Rebecca Rule is going to come talk. Is going to be talking at different times of the day. There are different events happening in all of the pavilions there. Dick Fortin is going to be doing a reenactment of Jigger Johnson, so that'll be something really fun to come take a look at 10:45. And there'll be lumberjack songs at 11:30. So if you want to learn some lumberjack, camp songs, ones that you can sing in public.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I would think that they're kind of like fishermen songs. Two of them just don't.
Two of them, yeah. Some of the other exhibits going on, there'll be edible invasives. There's some. We're talking about invasive plants and how they're affecting the forest, and actually you can make some wonderful invasive jellies. Yes, can you believe it?
I don't think I want to bring that. I brought you an invasive jelly.
Some knotweed jelly. It's actually quite good, actually. And there's a couple of other things going on. The Enviroscape, learning about water. You can be able to go out and do a little pond dipping. And then my favorite is the soil pit, because we're going to dig, not a huge pit, it's not one of these things, but it's about 5 by 5, and you can go in and you can actually see the layers that's underground.
That's cool.
That we rely on there, so it'll be a lot of fun stuff.
Now, if somebody can't make it to this, I imagine the White Mountain National Forest is doing stuff all throughout the summer at the ranger stations. And
yes, there's all sorts of information at the ranger stations, as well as all of our partners. There are some major partners that we're working with: Society for Protection of New Hampshire Forests, Appalachian Mountain Club, the Arts Alliance of New Hampshire, all next month in August. Every weekend, it's called the 8 Days of Weeks, and there'll be walks and talks and an artist. So you'll walk with an artist, and either you'll be painting, or you'll be writing poems, or you'll be making up songs each day that you go with this.
Great.
So look on the weekslegacy.org for the 8 Days of Weeks schedule.
Well, that's great, and it is one of the things, like we were mentioning earlier on the event report, that it is just so important that we would not have the White Mountain National Forest. We would not have all the great things. Mm-hmm. It's one of the things that we who live up here, or people who come up and visit up here, either the fact that you can, you drive down the street in North Conway, you can do all the things you want to do. You do your shopping, you do your eating, you do your lodging, all that. But then you head 2 miles in any direction, and you're in the middle of the forest.
Right.
And what a great opportunity that we have, and both for visitors and residents alike, to just enjoy.
Right, exactly. And for those who can't even get out of the car, or those who don't have the opportunity, it's right there to see.
Right.
Right there in the opportunity. And back to the Junior Ranger book. This is a book that you can take with you while you're driving. You don't necessarily need to be out there. It's great, and you're supposed to do that, but you can actually do it from your car or do it from anywhere, because it applies, as the forest applies to anybody.
Right. But you probably don't have any books that have enough pages for my age, so you know.
Well, you could do a couple.
I can't lift it, but well, that sounds great. So, Emma, you're going to be up there on Friday,
Yes.
helping out.
Yeah.
Awesome. And obviously you sounds like you're steeped in this stuff. That you've really learned a lot of the stuff about the White Mountain National Forest. From your aunt, who you love.
Yes, exactly. Who it's her job, and you'll make sure she gets to keep her job.
Well, no, Emma has been telling us all about it, so that's just great.
That's great.
So, Claire,
yes.
where else can we find out some information if we want to?
You can call any of the ranger stations. You could go to weekslegacy.org, which is the website. The ranger station, local ranger station you could call, that's the closest one to here is the Saco Ranger Station on the Kancamagus Highway.
Yeah. And
phone number there, 447-5448. Or you could go to the White Mountain National Forest website, and this one just trips right off the tongue. It's www.fs.fed.us/R9/white. Doesn't that just trip right off the tongue? So
this is how we can cut the budget. Just cut one of those letters out right there. So.
Exactly.
Well, Claire and Emma, I want to thank you guys so much for coming down here.
Rob,
it sounds like there's a lot of fun coming up on Friday.
Rain or shine.
Rain or shine, under the tents. And
Yes.
just really, it's a great opportunity for the family to enjoy that. And then all the other events, which we'll keep talking about, of course, on White Mountains Today, and then also on whitemountainsinfo.com, all the information.
Great,
So,
and thanks for all of that.
well, thanks so
you,
much.
Rob.
And